Yo, 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 welcome back to another episode of On the Spot Sports. And before we get to our guest today, we have a big shout out for Living Sisu. Living Sisu is a platform and app that wants to give you all the tools to have success in your sport. Their main objective is to activate your lifestyle. So it's for active people. Enjoy discounts at companies like BioSteel, 30% off, Body Logics, the Goalie Guild, all his books are discounted. Roan, Lululemon for men, 20% off, online stretching programs with Eccentrics, 1 full month free. They got super silent massage guns, 20% off those. And it's a great quality. It's way less expensive than a Theragun, and it's great quality. So there's so many more discounts that you guys will need to just become a member to see. So they want to provide you with anything you need for success. So come join the community. I'm a part of it. A bunch of other athletes are a part of it. So it's free to join. It takes 20 seconds to get exclusive offers to your sport, and it's definitely worth it. So do us a huge favor and go sign up for Living Sisu's membership. It's free, 20 takes 20 seconds. So go do it, and we'll see you there. Living Sisu is a great company. We know one of the co-founders, Zach Fricali. He's a great guy. He's the co-founder. He does a lot of live streams on Instagram at Living Sisu, with a bunch of elite athletes, and you learn a lot from like the athletes' determination, their resiliency, everything to what made them become successful. So it's been a great experience so far. So go on. I'm gonna leave the link in the description. So go sign up. Yo, welcome back to another episode of On the Spot Sports. I'm Jack, and today's episode we are joined by a very special guest, former professional hockey player Brett Sterling. Brett has had a memorable hockey career playing the AHL for most of his career with the Chicago Wolves, along with the Peoria Rivermen, Portland Pirates, Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins, while also playing 30 games in the NHL, split between the Atlanta Thrashers, Pittsburgh Penguins, and the St. Louis Blues. He also spent time overseas in Austria before coming back to the Chicago Wolves before retiring after the 2017-2018 season. He has plenty of championships and awards to his name, as well as winning a Calder Cup in 2008 with the Wolves, U18 U20 World Junior Championship gold medal, two-time EBEL champion, AHL Rookie of the Year in 2006 and 2007, and so many more. It's an honor to have you on the show, Brett. So welcome to the show, Brett Sterling.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, no problem. It's an honor to have you on the show, especially since you've won so many awards, and I've watched your entire career in Chicago, and when you did play in the NHL as well. So it's great to have you on. But how are you?
Oh, I'm good. It's really nice to be on. I mean, obviously, now that I'm retired, I don't talk hockey too much these days. So anytime I get a chance to come on and talk and reminisce about the old days, it's fun to get on here and chat it up.
Yeah, for sure. So can you give our viewers a little background information? I'm sure everyone knows about you, but when you started playing hockey, some of the teams you've been on growing up in a college and juniors, and then the start of your pro career.
Yeah, absolutely. So I grew up in Pasadena, California. One of the rarities back then of being a California kid who was able to make it out. What I'm really proud of is the fact of how many California kids there are these days. I mean, there's 4 on the World Junior team, which is just awesome. But so I played for a local team, Pasadena Maple Leafs, for most of my youth career. And then, right as I was making my way up, they started to have the AAA teams that come to California, and I played for the Junior Kings for a couple of years. And then I was lucky enough to get selected to go play at the U.S. National Program. It's actually kind of funny is I went and tried out for the Tri-City Storm. Their first year, they were going to be a USHL team, and went to my first camp and got cut. And they were like, go back to California, keep working. We really like you, but you maybe need another season. So I was all set to go back. And I was just about to go to U16, the Select Festival in St. Cloud, and ended up having a really good camp there. My first year, the U15 camp, our Pacific District actually won it all. And then our 16 group, we won it again. And right at the end of that tournament, I got an offer to come play for the U.S. National Program. And I always joke because I actually accepted it before I even talked to my parents. But I mean, they were so supportive. So I went to Ann Arbor. I lived in Ann Arbor for 2 years and played for that U.S. program. And after my 2 years there, I went to Colorado College and played my 4 seasons there before I signed pro. And, after that, it was bouncing around with most of my career being here in Chicago with the Wolves.
Yeah, so I want to start off with like the U.S. national team and all that. So you were a U18, U20 gold medal winner. So like, what was it like being chosen to be on those teams and then to see all the work you put in throughout your youth years to get to the point you are and end up winning some gold medals?
Yeah, it was kind of a shock to me a little bit. I mean, growing up in California at that time, there weren't a ton of top end talent, but there definitely were some. There's another guy we played with, Gabe Gauthier or Gauthier, who played. He ended up going up and playing in the BCHL and went to Denver University, and he and I grew up together, and we're kind of battling each other as youth. So to get that opportunity to be selected as one of the top 20, 24 guys for the U.S. at my age was really an honor. And you go from being a big fish in a small hockey pond of LA to all of a sudden being with the top talent. It was eye-opening for me because you were no longer the best at what you did. You really had to work, and it was not only eye-opening, but it was also amazing to be playing with such good talent, especially for our age group. I mean, the guys I played with the 84 age group were just amazing. So many of them are still or have just retired from long careers in the NHL.
Yeah, that's awesome. So like, is there like any games that stick out for you from any of those medal games that you like, maybe like your first medal or like maybe your second medal? Like, what games stuck out for you for in the memory book?
I mean, there's quite a few, but I'll start. The most memorable is obviously the World Junior Gold, to be the first to win gold for the U.S. The infamous Coburn flurry off his shoulder. That was the most memorable. And it's kind of funny that I ended up playing with Coburn in Atlanta and Chicago, and then I played with Fleury in Pittsburgh a little bit. So never brought those up because I figured those would be some sore subjects. But that's one that sticks out. Our U.S. team, we played against a couple of universities, and we beat Ohio State University, which was the first D1 program we had beaten, and that one always sticks out to me. But honestly, getting to wear the red, white, and blue and hear the national anthem after a win against, whether it's Sweden, Finland, Russia, any of these other countries, it always sent a chill down my spine. And just to be able to represent your country is really an honor.
Yeah, for sure. So when you won that first gold medal, like, what were the emotions going like as the clock was ticking to zero, and like knowing that you're a gold medal champion in the World Juniors?
Yeah, I mean, that was nerve wracking. Obviously, we were only up by a goal. In the few championships I've won, the more you're up, the easier you feel. You get that excitement as the clock's ticking down. But when it's a 1-goal game and anything can happen, I mean, you're shaking on the inside. But we were just so excited. I remember just all of us jumping on the bench as the clock was ticking down from 10, and when that hit 0, it's just this feeling of elation. But not only that, it's just like, it's almost indescribable. You just you're like numb, but it's a numb joy where you just can't put it into words, because no one will ever be able to feel what we felt, in the sense that we were the first ever for the U.S. And that's something that no one can take away from us. There are going to be other gold medal teams there have, and there are going to be more over the years, but we will always be the first.
Yeah, that's just awesome. Like, I can't even imagine like the emotions that you were going through, and like how nerve wracking it was being up by a goal. But that's just awesome. Like, can't describe it at all.
No, I mean, and the fact that we were down 3-1 going into that third period, makes it all the more special. Anytime you can have a comeback story like that, and in such a meaningful game, always will always last with you.
Yeah, for sure. So then you went to play in college hockey for Colorado College for 4 years. Like, what was your experience playing over in Colorado College, and just your college hockey experience, because college hockey is a fun time to be in.
Oh yeah, it was awesome. I mean, I've met some of my closest friends. You know, most of my groomsmen were guys that were in my class and great friends of mine. But the college hockey experience, I mean, it's so much different than, you know, the junior in the U.S. program because, you know, you've got this pride of the university. Obviously, where I went, Colorado College is a very small school. You know, there's only 2,000 students in the entire school. But when we were playing, we'd get 8,000 at our arena. I mean, so the town was behind us as well, which sold out arena. It was World Arena back then. They're building a new arena now, but playing against a Denver University or you know, a North Dakota, a Wisconsin, a Minnesota back in the old WCHA when it existed with the same members when I was playing. I mean, every night was a battle, and you know, you're playing against some big boys, some 25-year-old seniors. As an 18-year-old freshman, I definitely took a little abuse out there, but I'd say I probably earned a lot of it as well. I mean, I definitely don't shy away. Sometimes I toe the line a little too much.
Yeah, so like what do you have to learn from like when you're 18 playing against these like 23, 24, 25-year-olds and just being, because you're on the smaller end of the scale for hockey players. So like what do you have to do, especially since you're that smaller guy and you had to really work for battles and on the boards and all that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was just continuing what I'd done my whole career. I mean, you're right. I'm not the biggest guy, but I always told myself I was never going to back down from the bigger guys, much to my body's dismay at times. But I knew you had to go to the front of the net to score goals, and it's something that I was always able to do, and it was a skill of mine. So I did the same thing in college. You know, our arena was a Olympic size sheet, so it was massive. We were up at altitude, so we definitely had a little bit of an advantage when teams came to our rink. And then we went to the other rinks. You know, I played with such amazing players in college. My line mate, who was a Hobie Baker winner, Marty Surdich, you know, I owe a lot to him and the other guys, Joey Crabb and some of the other guys I played with that really made my life easy. You know, you go to the right area and they get you the puck and, you know, let me do the rest. But you can't do it alone. And I was never a one-on-one player. I'm a shooter, so I need someone to get me that puck, which is always nice.
Yeah, I'm the same way when I'm not goalie and I'm playing out for one of my teams. I'm the skinniest guy out there. Like it's noticeably different, and like I don't back down. Like I get to the dirty areas, and I'm a sniper too. So
It's,
I
you know,
just
it's,
want the puck.
yeah, that's the same thing for me. I knew where I had to go. I knew what, you know, I needed to sacrifice to score the goals, and you know, you take a beating along the way, but you know, the mental beating that other guys are taking when you're not backing down and you're scoring goals on them is well worth it for me.
Yeah, exactly. So you're an assistant captain for your team your last year at Colorado College, I believe. So like, what was that experience of being a leader and being the guy, especially because later in your pro career, you're a leader in the locker room as well. So like, what was something that you learned from being a leader in college to that you took over to pro?
I think an important thing about being a leader is not always needing to step up and say anything. You got to pick the right time. I mean, there are guys who love to talk game in and game out. And, you know, sometimes I think that message gets muddled or it gets drowned out a bit. So I always want to lead by example, just go out there, work hard, battle, put myself out there. And, you know, at times like I said, I towed the line. I have quite a few penalty minutes over my career. You know, some of it's from not always playing the smartest to sometimes just not backing down. And I hope that guys knew that, you know, they had my back and I'd have theirs and we were all out there together. And I just wanted to prove and show everybody on the ice and my teammates that I was going to give them everything I had. And I hope that they would follow, you know, in kind.
Yeah, that's a great thing to have. Like, what would be your mindset throughout like all the games when even if it got tough and you had to really work, like to keep a positive mindset and just keep working and keep grinding.
Yeah, I had a coach, our assistant coach there at CC. He's now at UMass Lowell. His name's Norm Bazine, but he always told me never get too high or too low. He's like, you know, you're going to have good moments and bad moments throughout a game, throughout a season. But he's like, when things aren't going your way, don't try not to show your frustration. Try not to show the highs and the lows, because if your opponent sees that you're just, not too high or too low night in and night out, they're really going to have a hard time getting a read on you. And really, you get in their head as opposed to them getting in your head. And that's a difficult thing to do. I mean, throughout the highs and the lows, it's hard not to show that emotion. And even when you do, you just start over and you start back. And that's what I always try to do. And I've always told myself, and I tell everybody that I ever talk to about this, is if you're a goal scorer or if you're not, when you're getting chances, it's going to go in. Just give yourself time. If you're not getting chances, that's when you panic.
Yeah, that's a great mindset to have, and just to keep working. Like, you're getting chances, so something will eventually go in. Just got to keep going out there and keep doing what you're doing, and it will find the back of the net sometime. So I like how, like, you have to be even keel too, because you can't get too high or too low, because once you do get too high or too low, like, something bad goes wrong, and a lot of things are going to go wrong.
And you spend so much mental energy on focusing on whether, you're doing unbelievable. I mean, obviously ride the wave while you can, because when you get hot, you never know when it's going to cool down. And I always joked with guys, they're like, act like you scored before. I said, why? I said, you never know when it's going to be your last. Enjoy it. Don't go overboard, but enjoy scoring goals. For me, there was no better feeling than putting the puck in the back of the net. It was just great.
Yeah, exactly. And it's awesome getting the pucks in the back of the net. And you obviously did that going into your first pro season. You began your pro career with the Chicago Wolves in the 2006-2007 season, which would turn to be a very special place for you coming into the organization and spending most of your career with the Wolves. So, like, how special was your first year of pro hockey and coming to an organization like Chicago?
Yeah, I mean, I was very lucky to be drafted by Atlanta and them to have the partnership with Chicago, because I learned a lot my first year. And, it started off honestly a little rocky. I don't know if a lot of people know, but my first game, nothing happened. I kind of, you come from college, pro game's a different game, and you have to learn. And first game, I didn't have any points. We ended up losing. And our coach at the time, who I am so thankful to, Johnny Anderson, who's a coaching legend, and he's just an unbelievable guy. He used to switch the lineup up after every game we lost. And if you won, he'd keep the lineup the same. So he told me he wanted me to take the next night off and just to watch the game and kind of get a feel for it. So I sat up in the stands. It was the first time I'd been healthy scratched, I think, in my career. And, mentally, it's not an easy thing to go through, when you come from, I had a great college career, and you come pro, and your second game pro, you're getting scratched. But it really opened my eyes to kind of the way the game was played and getting a good view from it up top. Fortunate for me, we ended up losing that game, and I got back in the lineup, and that's when he put me on a line with Jason Krog and Darren Hadar. And, I can't thank him enough for that, because, that line for 2 years was, some of the most fun hockey I've ever played. You get with two guys that you just know so well and mesh with. And really, there wasn't anything we couldn't do when we wanted to. And it just made the game so much fun.
Yeah, it was definitely fun watching you guys. But, like, what was the adjustment like coming from college hockey to pro hockey, just being in the stands at one game, just watching? Like, what were some of the things that you learned that you took into account to help make yourself not get healthy scratched again?
Well, you always hear that cliche statement, bigger, stronger, faster. Well, it's a true statement. In any sport, at any level, as you go up, guys are bigger, they're stronger, they're faster, and they're smarter. They're in the right spots. They know where to be, and you got to be better away from the puck, because you got to create that opportunity when it comes around. And so kind of watching that gave me an idea, and then getting in with Jason and Darren and just knowing where to go and knowing that they're going to find me when I went there. And, after that, I kind of went on a tear. I had 35 goals in my first 34 games. And, like I said, when you're hot, you come to the rink every day. I was like, I'm going to score tonight. You just kind of knew it. You felt it. And whether you did or not didn't matter. It's just kind of that mentality that really helped me through. and just having a great rookie season, and just, not giving away the opportunity that I had, because I was given that chance to play with, two of the best players in the AHL, hands down. And to get that opportunity, you never want to give it up.
Yeah, for sure. It's like how fun was it playing with Darren Hadar and Jason Krog, and just the chemistry you guys had? Because it seemed like all three of you could find each other at any single time, and it'll be in the back of the net.
Yeah, those guys they were such great players. They'd established themselves. They'd already had, good careers before they'd even played for the Wolves, and just extended it while playing there. But they taught me a lot. They gave me a hard time as a rookie. They made sure to tell me if I dumped it, I had to go get it. And then they also told me, if you're 5 feet or further away from the net, just give us the puck and go to the net. And it was a good thing I listened to them for the first time, and they made my life easy. And so, what made us so dangerous is, I think that, everybody on that line could score. Everybody on that line could pass to some degree. I would say I was by far the worst passer out of that line, but I'm okay with that considering those two. So we all were dangerous no matter where we were. And that really helped. You couldn't really key in on one person. And, when you've got a line like that, it's a fun game.
Yeah, especially when you got the best line in the AHL. And just you guys produced over 200 points combined 2007, 2008. So it was fun to watch you guys play, and just how much fun you guys were having throughout the entire season.
Yeah, I think not only was it fun on the ice, but, especially those teams that we were on, the 06, 07, 07, 08, it was a special group of guys. And, when you win a championship, you become so much closer with that group, and we all liked each other. We had a great time on and off the ice, in practice, in games, on the road. Everything. And, it makes life that much more enjoyable when you get all that coming together at the same time.
Yeah, for sure. So then going towards the end of the season for 2006, 2007, you won AHL Rookie of the Year. You also won AHL most points with 97 points in a season, AHL most goals with 55, just to name a few. And you had a couple more after that. It's like how special was it winning all these awards and being so successful your first year in the AHL?
Yeah, it kind of was unexpected to a certain degree. Obviously, you never come in expecting to lead the league in goals your first year. But, when you get put in a situation like I was, to play with Jason and Darren and the other guys on the team, it makes life easy. And, you never want to give up that opportunity. And not only that, but my goal was to make it to the NHL. And so, you put up as much as you can to try and give them every opportunity to call you up and give you that chance. Not looking back on it, these are memories I'm going to have forever. It's things I can tell my kids about someday, which is really cool. But the awards are great, but I honestly, I can't thank the guys I played with enough. I couldn't have scored those goals without them. And I played with phenomenal players, whether it was college, pro. I owe so much of what I've accomplished to the guys I played with, because I've been very fortunate to play with some of the most amazing players. Hobie Baker winners, AHL Hall of Famers, NHL All-Star. I played with so many, and it's been just a joy for me.
Yeah, absolutely. So then going in the 2007, 2008 season, you made the Atlanta Thrashers opening night roster, and you scored your first NHL goal on October 20th, 2007. So, what was it like getting your first NHL goal, and do you remember it clearly?
I could, like it was yesterday. So, I made the team out of camp, and we really struggled. I think we lost our first 6 games, but we were down 5-1 in Tampa Bay. And puck came off the boards. I think it was Darren Hadar who chipped it to Brian Little, if I remember correctly. And I was just driving the net, and Brian Little threw one across the crease, and I was able to tip it over the pad of Johan Holmquist for my first ever goal. And then I got absolutely buried into the net. But I remember getting up and being like, I can't even celebrate that much. We're still down 5-2, like late in the third. So, you know, it's a mixed bag, but I mean, that's something that I'll have forever. No one can ever, I've been in the NHL and I've scored a goal, and I'd kind of accomplished one of my biggest goals at that point, which was really cool.
Yeah, for sure. That's just awesome. Just do you what was the feeling like getting like your first NHL game and just skating on the ice for warm-ups and just realizing that you were on NHL ice and you were actually in the NHL?
Oh man, butterflies. I can remember standing in the hallway because our first game was at home against Washington to open the year. And I remember just standing there waiting to go out and just knowing that like something you dreamt about as a kid was about to come true, and how amazing it was. And I was very lucky. My first two games, which were the home game in Atlanta and then the game in Tampa, another game in Tampa Bay, I had 16 family members who'd come in from, you know, California to watch. And it was, it was awesome. It was everything I could have imagined and more. And so for them to be able to share that with me was really, really great.
Yeah, that's just great, and like all the memories you get from that. And then you get sent down to the Wolves again, and you guys went on a tear to eventually win the 2008 Calder Cup. So like what was the 2007-2008 season like for you and the team, and like since you guys had one of the best seasons in Wolves history, and it was like truly a gift to watch.
I mean, obviously for me, you know, it was definitely a little bit of a roller coaster, obviously making Atlanta out of camp and thinking you were going to be there, to our team going 0-6 or 7 to start the year. Our coach, Bob Hartley, got fired. And then I ended up getting sent down. And I didn't know if this was like a temporary thing, a permanent thing. And you just had to kind of go with the flow and continue to produce. And I ended up down in Chicago, and obviously I knew most of the guys on the team already, and it was just like getting back into the swing of that. And, you know, I don't think we missed a beat, and that team was just so talented. I mean, obviously you had the staples from the year before, you know, Jason and Darren and Nathan Oystrick, Joey Crabb, and some others. But then you also had the additions of Brian Little, Andre Pavlik, you know, guys like that also were just huge pieces to our team. And we just, as a team, we just clicked everything. And what was so dangerous about our team is, yeah, our top six, you know, we're so dangerous, our top 4D, but I mean, we had such a deep team. I mean, that season, the two guys who made the NHL the next year right out of camp were our two fourth line guys. I mean, that's how deep we were. And, you know, you look at it now and you're just like, man, like I would not have wanted to face that team, and for good reason. And you look how we did in the playoffs, and the playoffs were an absolute grind, especially that second series against Rockford that went 7 games. It was one of the most intense series I've ever been a part of.
Yeah, so what was that Rockford series like, going all the way to game 7, just grinding it through and just over coming on top at the end?
Yeah, I mean, we'd had such a good season and we'd done so well that, you know, I think we played Milwaukee the first round, and I think we beat them in 6. And it was close, but it wasn't that close. I mean, and then we went, you know, first 2 games at home against Rockford. We won them. I think we beat them pretty handily. And then they rattled off 3 in a row. And I think we were stunned. I don't think we expected it to happen. And, you know, that's when the fear of the stash kind of came alive. Colin Stewart shaved into a mustache, and everybody decided to follow suit just to change something. And I mean, we just came out and we knew we were do or die in Rockford. We were able to pull out that win. And then game 7, you know, anything can happen. And we were able to win a big one. And that was huge. And it kind of catapulted us to, you know, we ended up winning in 5 against Toronto, and then really went on a run and, you know, won the first 3 in the finals, and then lost the next 2 and was able to win game 6 back at home.
Yeah, like you guys played a lot of good like players on that Rockford squad. Like you had Corey Crawford, who's a NHL goalie obviously right now, and so many other guys that are playing the NHL right now. And just how difficult was it to play in Rockford, and just because Rockford's a tough place to play, and just like overall like coming out with that game 6 win?
Yeah, I didn't, the Chicago Rockford rivalry. I mean, obviously, I played for Chicago for 7 years. I've spent more time than I can even tell you in Rockford. It didn't matter if Chicago had a good team or Rockford had a good team. It was always a battle. It never mattered. They were always just slugfests, and teams would play above their level in that game no matter what. So we knew it was going to be tough every time we went in there, and it didn't disappoint, especially in that playoff series with those guys. I mean, they had Bickle and Versteeg and so many of their players, Skilly, and I mean, I'm forgetting several of them at least that were Hjalmarsson, I think, was on that team as well. They just had such a youth talent level that was impressive, and we were definitely the older team, and had a lot of experience, but it was just a great series, and I feel like the people that got to sit there and watch it really enjoyed themselves watching that series.
Yeah, that Wolves Rockford rivalries are really probably one of the best rivalries I've seen, and it's seems like a battle every time, like a ton of like fights and everything break out. So the Wolves Rockford rivalries is a big one.
Oh yeah, it absolutely is. I mean, we've had a few brawls. I mean, it's always funny when you get some guys who've either played for Rockford who then come to the Wolves or vice versa. And it's, being on both sides of that for them, I think is always a bit of a weird experience, but it's fun. But what's great about our sport is, I've been on the ice, I've battled with so many of these guys, and then you either play with them on a different team or you see them out after the game and you grab a beer with them and you reminisce, and you're all buddies off the ice for the most part. I mean, there's very few guys that I've ever seen or had an issue with off the ice. It's great.
Yeah, for sure. So then you guys go into the in the finals, and you go to Game 6, where you guys end up winning 6-2, I believe, or 5-2. Jason Krog gets the hat trick, and what was that Game 6 like, and being able to win it at the All-State?
Yeah, I mean, for me, that whole playoff series was a bit of a bit of an adventure. I broke my foot actually in Game 7. I surprisingly, to many who know me, I actually blocked a shot in late in the third period and ended up going right back to the D-man, and he got it back, and I realized I couldn't step on my foot, and turned out I'd broken my big toe. And so I didn't play a single game in the semifinals. And then I was trying to come back and actually stress fractured the next bone over in my foot. So I didn't come back till Game 4 of the finals. So I missed all 3 wins. Came back for Game 4, we lost. Came back for Game 5, we lost again. And I'm like, oh no, am I bad luck? And I think we got to a point where Game 6, we were like, all right, we got 2 chances to win at home. We don't lose at home. We just need to end it. And we came out on fire, and we, obviously your leaders and your best players take over when it matters most. And, guys like Jason and Darren did that. And, it's always nice when you have a goaltender like Andre, who absolutely played phenomenal throughout that playoff series. And when you've got a goalie like that, knowing you're only going to give up a few at most every game makes it a lot easier for you. And we just battled, and we were able to get that lead. And, I remember scoring, I think, to make it 6-2 with like 3 minutes left, and just knowing at that point that we were going to win the championship. And, that's where I was saying earlier that, the bigger lead you have, the easier you feel. And then it was just anticipation and just waiting and watching that clock kick down. It was the slowest clock tick, but it was so worth it to get that championship.
Yeah, so what was when the clock hit 0, and I remember this day because I was there live at the All-State when this all happened. Just the atmosphere was insane. The fans, it was just unreal to be up there. It's obviously unreal to be on the ice celebrating with the guys. When it hit 0, what were you guys going crazy? What was going on there?
Oh yeah, I mean, we were going nuts trying to get to that net as quick as possible to celebrate with the boys. There's actually an amazing picture that the Wolves photographer Ross Detman took of Colin Stewart had stepped on the top of the boards and had jumped off the boards. It's an amazing photo, and our trainer, Kevin Kaser, actually has it up in his training room. It's just, and I look back on it and I'm like always trying to find myself, and I'm buried behind one head. You can see just the top of my helmet, but getting into that pile is always so fun, and just to be able to celebrate with the boys. And not only that, but for me, I was lucky. My wife's from Chicago, and at the time we were dating, and, I had her there. I had some friends there, and to be able to share that not just with your teammates, but with family and friends is really a special moment that you get to look back on and always know that, one of the most important and most fun days of your life you get to celebrate with.
Yeah, for sure. So are there any fun stories that came with that Calder Cup winning team, whether it be during the regular season or after you guys won the championship?
I mean, the championship night was a blast. Obviously, I think by the time we got out of that rink, it was like 2 a.m. We went across the street to the restaurant Cafe La Cave. The owner of the Wolves had us all over there to have a meal. And I can remember eating I think he was eating lobster tails like 2 a.m, drinking champagne, having a great time. But just sitting in the locker room with the boys the last hour before we ended up leaving, in about 2-3 inches of beer and champagne and everything, just a soup. I think Colin Stewart still hadn't changed out of his gear. He's still half dressed at that point. And then just, getting to celebrate what you'd worked so hard for. I mean, we were all sore, we were tired, we were all beat up after a long season, but just knowing that it had all been worth it, and being thankful that we didn't get all the way to that point and not won, because it's such a long process to get there. It's just such a blast. I mean, honestly, I try and think back to very short minutes of that season, and it all kind of blends together because we always had fun. I mean, whether it was on the road, in practice, messing around, or, going to a bar after a game on the road, just the way we came together as a team and being able to celebrate was just really something that I will never forget, that group.
Yeah, for sure. That's just some awesome stories so thank you for sharing that. And so you played with the Wolves till 2009, 2010, I believe. And then you went over to Pittsburgh and Wilkes-Barre, I think, right?
Yes.
So then you went there. You got to play in some more NHL games with Pittsburgh. What was that experience like in Pittsburgh and Wilkes-Barre?
Yeah, I mean, I'd spent 4 years with the Wolves in Atlanta, and I had gotten a little bit of a shot up, but I thought it was time to try somewhere else and hope that I could, kind of cement myself in the NHL. And so I talked to actually the head coach, Dan Bilesma, who was Wilkes-Barre's head coach, and we'd beat them. And, he expressed interest in me coming there and giving me a chance to make the team. So I went to my first training camp in Pittsburgh, and we get a few days in, and we get the first lineup, and I'm playing with Sidney Crosby and Pascal Dupuis. All right, first ever game in Consol Arena in preseason. Ended up having an assist early on. Mike Comrie scored, and then Crosby gets the puck in front of the net, just absolutely makes the goalie look silly, and then just dishes it back door to me. He had the entire net to score and gave it back door to me. Probably one of the easiest goals I've ever scored. And I ended up being first star of that game. I'm like, oh, man, this is fun. I like this. Next game, come look in the locker room. I'm slated to play with Crosby and Malkin the next game. I'm like, okay, sure. And it was a blast. It was fun, but it was one of the hardest games I've actually played in because those guys are so amazing. They know what they're doing, and they can kind of freewheel it so much easier because they're always in the right position, but they just create so much. And for me, I was learning a new system and trying to make sure I was, positionally sound, and these guys are everywhere. And it was a bit of a challenge for me, but I would never trade it for the world playing with those guys. And I ended up getting sent down a couple days later and had a great season in Wilkes, and I enjoyed my time there and got called up later in the year. Pittsburgh had that rash of injuries. I think we had at one point there were 9 of us from Wilkes-Barre up in Pittsburgh. People would joke that we were the Wilkes-Barre Penguins playing against all the NHL teams. And it was honestly the best I'd ever played in the NHL. I was playing on, the top line. I was playing with Eric Stahl and Tyler Kennedy. And it was just fun. I knew that the chances are it wasn't going to last, and I was just going to make the most of it. And I went on a run of 5 points in 5 games, and I was just enjoying it. And it was really cool that I actually went on a little bit of a tour of kind of everything that meant something to me. So I got called up. I played against the LA Kings in Pittsburgh. We went and played in Madison Square Garden, which was awesome. Went to Colorado, where I went to school and played. And then I ended up playing here in Chicago against the Blackhawks and scored with, I think, 5 minutes left in the game to tie it up. And my wife was there, and just being able to have, all these people there to support me in like these fun times. I was just having a blast.
Yeah, it definitely seemed like it's a blast, especially when you're playing with Crosby, Malkin, Dupuis, all these guys. And how much did Crosby and Malkin help you learn, and just even though they're just floating around there and just dishing you the puck, but like what would they teach you when you were there?
You know what? You honestly just watch them. You watch the way in which they approach the game, the love for it, the talent level, and whether I can be honest, I don't have the skill or talent level of Malkin or Crosby, but just watching the little things they do and watching what type of people they are. I mean, they're great people. They didn't have to give me the time of day to a certain degree. And, obviously, Sid and I both knew some mutual people, so we kind of chatted about that. And, the guys in Pittsburgh, what was wonderful about them is they made you feel a part of it right away. The moment you came up, I mean, we were 9 guys from the minors. Sometimes it's tough when you get called up from the minors because guys are worried about, someone taking their spot or whatever. It can be a little bit of a stressful situation for everyone. And we didn't have any of that in Pittsburgh. It was great. And, it was a great organization and fun to be around. And we had a blast with it.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. So then the next year you went to a new organization where you played with St. Louis Blues for a little bit. Then you went to Peoria, and then you were on loan to Portland. So like, what was that experience like? And you're an assistant captain with Peoria too. So what was it like getting a letter there and leading by example, like you said earlier?
Yeah, I mean, anytime your captains are voted on by your teammates and they, give that to you, they vote on that for you. It's, it means a lot because, you've got their trust and, guys look up to you and want you to lead and want you to lead by example. So that was really cool. I love my time in Peoria and with St. Louis. Obviously, I didn't spend a whole lot of time up. It was obviously another opportunity. I wanted to try and give myself a chance to make the NHL. And it was just trying somewhere new to see if I could, get my foot in that door full time. We had a good team. We were close to making the playoffs. I think we were 4 points in the playoffs when I ended up getting traded. And it kind of ended up being a situation where Patrick O'Sullivan needed to get moved out of Portland. And, we had TJ Hensick had just gotten called up and they weren't sure if they were getting him back. And we really needed a center. And Portland had to get someone in exchange for him. And they ended up moving me. And so I played on a Friday night, got dressed after the game, was walking out of the locker room, got called into the coach's office in, I think, mid-February and basically told I was traded to Portland. And I went back, ate dinner with the boys. At midnight, I got to my apartment, packed up my bags, and left and didn't come back till the end of the season. So it's kind of a bit of a whirlwind. I was really lucky. I'd been trying to get a buddy of mine, Peter Menino, who was a goalie. I was trying to get Pete to come to Peoria. He was playing in St. John at the time and was trying to get out of there. And I was trying to get Peoria to sign him. I'm like, let's bring him in. Let's bring him in. And it didn't work out. So I called him to tell him I got traded, and he stopped me before I could tell him anything. He was like, "Hey, sorry, Sterls, I didn't get traded to Peoria. I actually got traded to Portland." And I was like, Pete, don't worry. I'll see you in the morning. And he's like, "What?" I was like, "I just got traded to Portland too." And just randomly, and we ended up hanging out in the hotel. And having lunch together every day. And his wife and my wife are really good friends, so they came to visit us, and it's a good situation for all of us. And I mean, honestly, Portland, Maine is an unbelievable town, not just for hockey, but also for eating. Oh, I think I put on a few extra pounds when I was playing there.
That's just awesome how like everything ended up working out for you and Peter Menino, and just
Yeah,
have to go to Portland with you, and you knowing someone there when you first got traded there. So that was at least good.
absolutely. It worked out really well for us.
Yeah, for sure. And then you go back to the Wolves the next season, and then after that season, you go play overseas in the SHL and then the EBEL. So, like, what was that experience playing in Sweden and then playing in Austria?
Yeah, I think at that point, after my year with the Wolves, I decided that I kind of knew my window for the NHL had kind of closed, or at least was barely open. And I decided I didn't have any kids. My wife and I were still pretty young. It was time to go over to Europe if we were going to do it. And so Jason Krogadak was actually playing in HV71 at the time in Sweden, and so he was able to get them to bring me over, and it was good. It was great hockey. It's a very defensive league. At least it was when I was there. Teams would have rather have won the game 1-0 than 6-5. And so it was hard to get the points, and it was an adjustment. It was a different style of game than what I'd been playing. And it took me a little bit of time, and I didn't have as much success as I had wanted. And the organization, we really didn't have a good season, and it was just a little bit chaotic. And about halfway through the year, they wanted to play some of their young guys. And so we sat down and talked and decided that it was better for me to go and move on to a different organization. And took me a little bit of time. It was right at the Olympic break in February. And so I was looking for a team, and it was a little bit tough. And I ended up signing with Orebro in the SHL and finished off there in the Kvalsaren, which is like the relegation round. And it's intense. I mean, it's almost more intense in the playoffs because there's so much on the line to stay up in the top league. So those were some great battles in there. And I had a good time. And then the next season, I decided I want to try somewhere else, and I ended up with Red Bull in Austria. And I mean, we had a good group of North Americans. The Austrian guys are amazing. Salzburg is one of the most beautiful cities I've ever been to. We always talk and say that had it been closer to home, we would have stayed there, because it was just a magical place to live, and travel was easy. Getting to Germany and Italy and France, wherever we wanted to go, we took advantage of it. So it was enjoying hockey, playing good hockey, and getting to live in Europe and travel. Like it all worked out. And not only that, but we won 2 championships, which you can't beat that either.
Yeah, exactly. It's like what was winning those championships like in a different country, and like compared to like what you did with the Wolves in North America?
I mean, they're different in that they've got, it's just such different leagues, different mentalities. I was at a different stage in my career both times, but they're both mean so much to me. And for those that followed during that time, I was definitely not the most liked person in Austria, for good reason. I mean, like I said, I battle, and I won't back down. And for myself, I was pretty much a hated guy outside of the Red Bull team, but it made it that much sweeter. Getting booed. The European fans are great. I mean, they're so passionate. There's such a pride based on where you live or where you're from. And so, going to Vienna and winning in Vienna was awesome. And, the Vienna fans weren't big fans of mine, but that's why it made it so much more fun to win there. And so
Yeah,
just being a part of those championship teams, like I said, it's guys that you won't forget, teams that you won't forget for the rest of your career.
yeah, that's unreal, and just it's really bittersweet when you win and you're the most hated team out there. It's a different kind of winning taste there, and it's super fun to be a part of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so then you finish your professional career the last 2 years with the Wolves. So like, what was it like going back to the organization of Chicago and just finishing off your career here?
I was glad to be back here. I love Chicago. Chicago's my home now. It's where my roots will be and everything like that. And so to come back and finish with an organization, to me, that's home. The Wolves are my home. I've been a lot of different places. I've loved those organizations, but Chicago will be where I started and finished, and where my heart is. And so to be able to do that, it was a challenge, and it was an adjustment for me. I mean, obviously, for a lot of my career here with the Wolves, I was playing on the top line and the power play and all that stuff. And I came back to an organization and a league that had changed a lot. It had become very much a developmental league, a lot younger. And I had to take a step back and a roll back and kind of do whatever was needed of me. And, I hope that my teammates would look and say that I was willing to do that. And, I didn't play every night. I didn't play in every situation like I had, but it was fun. I loved being a part of it. And we had some great teams, and we won the division champs and had some good runs in the playoffs. And so to be a part of that was really something special. And to be able to do it with the Wolves sweater on my chest is, meaningful to me.
Yeah, so 2016-17, you guys played in a playoff series against Grand Rapids, and that seemed like it was a very tough series because Grand Rapids ended up going on to win the Calder Cup that year, and just you guys had a ton of battles with them. So what was that playoff series like against Grand Rapids in the first round of the playoffs, I believe?
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was really tough. I mean, they're a great team. They had some talented young players. They had some really wily veteran guys. And whenever you play against, I mean, the one thing about that division is always so tough with Rockford, Milwaukee, Grand Rapids. Charlotte was in it. I mean, every night was just a grind. You didn't really get any nights off, and it made it fun. I mean, it's obviously getting a point night is always nice, but knowing you're going in for a battle, it makes the game special. And so those guys were good, and we knew that they were going to be a tough series, and it proved to be true.
Yeah, and that was a fun series to watch though, and it was even I think Grand Rapids took that 4-1 or 4-2 or something like that, but it was overall a great battle, and like I enjoyed watching that series.
Yeah, same. I enjoyed being a part of it.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, so Brett, I got one more question for you before we get this thing done with. So, do you have any tips for hockey players looking to get to that next level and to be successful wherever they're playing?
Yeah, I mean, the main thing I'll say is, first of all, love what you do. The reality of it is we all tried to get to the next level. We all tried to make it to the top, and it may happen, it may not. As much as your skill and your talent level, the timing and the opportunity is always a factor. And so when you get that opportunity, don't let it go. Give everything you have in that moment. Enjoy what you do. Keep working and have fun with it. And remember that at the end of the day, when all is said and done, we're all going to be sitting here and talking about our days on the ice, whether you played in the NHL, whether you played high school, college, whatever. We're all hockey players. We're all in this group together, and we can all look back and be proud of what we've done, no matter what level we played at.
Yeah, that's a great tip. So, thanks for sharing that. So, Brett, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate your time. I want to wish you the best of luck going forward with your life, with your kids, your family, everything. So, good luck, and this was a ton of fun. So, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me on. I'd be happy to join whenever.
Thank you. Sounds good.